to call this meeting, the public regularly scheduled board meeting to order. We've already done the pledge of allegiance. Miranda, I'm going to ask you to take roll call again though, because I think we have more numbers.
Do it again. Sandy Smith,
Present.
Scott Dorman,
Here.
Ryan Leahy,
Brian, are you present?
Here, present.
Jeff Robbins. He's not here. And John Smith.
Here.
All right. All right, I'm going to ask if you've all had an opportunity to take a look at the agenda. I want to note actually a couple of changes. Number 5 should read adjourn study session and call regularly scheduled meeting to order instead of sort of the reverse of that. And there is the new item that was added on changing, it's item 9A, Roman numeral 4. It was posted, discussion / action Ray change QuickBooks accounting license from Amanda Castle to Stephen Rodriguez. Have all of you had an opportunity to look at the agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
Any changes, comments, concerns? May I please have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, no. The motion carried unanimously. Right, I'll turn now to public comment. Does anyone have any comment that they wish to make? Not hearing any public comment, I'll move on to item number 8 on the agenda. Approval of the minutes from both the January 19th and the February 2nd board meeting. I want to call your attention to page 4 of the minutes of the January 19th board meeting. The minutes midway through the heading, it says public meeting re-adjourned. It should say public meeting reconvened. And so that change will be made. I guess I'll make it and send it to you guys. With that change, has everybody had an opportunity to take a look at the minutes from both the January 19th and the February 2nd board meetings?
Yes.
Are there any questions, comments, concerns, changes relative to those minutes? Then I'll entertain a motion, please, to approve the minutes of the January 19 board meeting with the board meeting with the stated modification, changing re-adjourned to reconvened on page 4, and the minutes of the February 2nd, 2026 board meeting as presented. May I have that motion, please?
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes for January 19th and February 2nd.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Second by
Scott.
Scott. We're considering the minutes of the January 19th, 2026 board meeting. There's one change to change the minutes on page 4. There's a heading that states re-adjourned, and it should say reconvened. Apart from that change, nobody had any changes, comments, or revisions. Do you have any? Okay, so the motion, and you had a chance to review the minutes from both meetings. So the motion on the table made by Ryan and seconded by Scott is a motion to approve the minutes from the January 19th, 2026 board meeting with stated modification, changing re-adjourned to reconvened on page 4, and the minutes of the February 2nd, 2026 board meeting as presented. So I'm going to now ask for a vote on that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion carried unanimously. I'm moving down the agenda to item 9A. Ryan, I'm going to turn it over to you for your treasurer's report.
Okay, for January, we had $250,000 of operating revenue, which is 140,000 over budget.
Hey, Ryan,
Yeah,
do you want me to go over this or are you happy to keep going?
no, I would love it if you would. I can tell you before we move on that I have been reviewing all of the bills paid and overseeing the budget with the chief, and I don't see anything, I think everything is up to speed, but I'd love it if you could do that for me.
Hey, marvelous. You okay with doing that?
I am, yes, please
Okay,
proceed.
perfect. Well, nice seeing everybody. Ryan, I know how it can be a challenge sometimes to call in, so hopefully you can hear me okay. It sounds like you can.
I can.
First of all, I appreciate you going through the Bill.com process and stepping in and helping out with that. So I know I think it's reasonably easy, but it is also time consuming at times. So I appreciate you doing that. So I've got good news and bad news on the financial report. The good news is if you scroll down, we're in desktop, QuickBooks Desktop now, which is what a couple of board members wanted to see. Keep going. One more, next one. A couple of board members wanted to see this. I think it's very helpful. I think it's a great report. So the good news is you now see the month budget, so month actual, month budget, and then the variance. The bad news is we're only 1 month in. So year to date is the same as month. But as we keep going through the months, so the first three are always going to be the month. This is always going to be your actual. This is always going to be the monthly budget. This is always going to be the variance. And then as we have more months, this will be year to date, actual year to date budget. And then we actually have our annual budget over on the side. We weren't able to provide that report out of QuickBooks Online. So I'm glad that we're able to provide that to you guys. In regards to the performance of the organization, there's really no trends because we're only 1 month into the year. But we did outperform significantly on our revenue. That was down to some timing on sales tax. And we outperformed on our expenses. We were under budget on our expenses. So hopefully that trend continues for the rest of the year. But again, really no trends to report other than the first month we again outperformed on revenue, outperformed on expenses. We do have the 1A income statement in your packet. We've been doing that actually probably since we started with you guys. So we do break out the 1A revenue and expenses. And I would also like to make a recommendation. I don't know if you can do it today because it's not on the agenda. But what I would like to do potentially is, if you go to the balance sheet, which is the second page, is ask the board to allow us, either staff or my team, to bring to you a new bank account for next month, of which we would label it as 1A. So depending on the performance of the 1A in regards to income and expenses, we would track that. If there was a surplus at the end of the month, we would then move that money into the 1A bank account. So although it wouldn't be a clean fund, it would be tracked from an income statement, meaning ins and outs, and then it would also be tracked, go up a bit, it's one more page. It would also then be tracked from a bank account perspective. So I don't know your thoughts on that. I think it's probably the cleanest way of achieving what you guys have asked in regards to 1A. But I'm happy to answer any questions. And again, I'm not sure if you can do it this month. We don't actually have the account set up. So maybe you could give direction for, again, us or staff to bring that to you for next month so you can approve it. And then the following month, we would start reporting some of that money. Questions, yes.
So this be an actual account?
Yeah, I was
Bank of
thinking,
Colorado?
yeah. That's what I was thinking. So the other option is to have another separate QuickBooks file. So we could literally have a 1A QuickBooks file, which that would be a little more in line with fund accounting. It's just messy doing it that way. I think this is the cleanest way of doing it.
How would we take care of money going in and out of that account?
If we did two,
If you had a new account, you have signers, who would be the signers, how would that work?
we would probably have it with the board, that we would say at the end of my board report, we'd probably add an item that says, so if you scroll down, keep going, I don't actually know what page it's on. I think it's page.
Profit loss.
Yeah, it's page 8. So here, I'll give you an example of what would happen. Zoom out one zoom for me. So here, what this is, so this is 1A being tracked from an income statement. This is showing that we brought in 50,000 more than we spent. So if we had that account set up, I would then make the recommendation that we transfer 50,000 from our general into the 1A account. We would then use our journal entries to record that, and we would ask you guys to do that. So the money wouldn't necessarily be leaving, well, it wouldn't, definitely wouldn't be leaving district funds. It would just be sat on its own account.
So I'm not quite following.
I didn't follow the,
Could you go over that again? Because I didn't quite follow. It sounds like then the district would be funding the 1A account with its basic district funds and not the 1A. fund.
No, so at the moment, this money is, there is no 1A account.
Okay.
So the money is going in to your accounts. They're
Just our
general operating account, correct, and we're making payments out of our general
Okay.
operating accounts. We're tracking each one of the revenues and the expenses by classing it to 1A, but the actual money is coming out of general operating accounts. So what I was saying is we would then shore up whether, so if that was a negative number, we would theoretically take money out of 1A and give it back to the general operating. And if there's a surplus, it goes from our general operating into 1A.
And we would need to do that on a monthly basis.
We can either do monthly or quarterly. Easier for me if you do quarterly, more timely for you guys if we do monthly.
Why wouldn't we just take the revenue when it came in and put it in that account and spend it from there?
We could do that, however, we have payroll that is associated with 1A. And our payroll is linked to our general operating account.
What would be the advantages of making this change, as opposed to just leaving it the way it is?
The advantage would be we would be able to track on a monthly basis the amount of surplus or deficit of cash that you have from 1A.
Can't you just do that in a ledger going out?
We could.
I'll see if it's gonna make it easier or harder.
yeah, so as I understand it, at least in some of the personnel expenses, some people are paid out of not just 1A, but maybe a combination of 1A and general funds, and so so we'd just basically be moving money between accounts to reimburse the general.
Yeah,
fund or-
so my understanding was the request from the board was that you wanted to have 1A separate.
We want it accounted for separately, so we
Yeah.
want to be able to track all of the expenditures and
In
money
a separate budget.
spent, yeah, and have a separate.
Okay,
budget.
so how it's, the money that comes in and the expenses are tracked from an income statement standpoint. That's been going on since I started with you guys.
And that's what we want.
Okay, so you don't necessarily want to see, so
And a
let's say,
separate budget. This
so
is
at the end
not-
of, the year, let's say there's $200,000 difference here. So revenue was $200,000 more than expense. Are you okay with me telling you that from an income standpoint, but that 200,000 just sits in your general operating account? Or do you want the 200,000 to be separate to where the cash is being
Well, I
held?
mean, I think the numbers are the numbers and the money's the money, what account it's sitting in is irrelevant. We have a separate accounting and budgetary schema for this, scheme for accounting for all of this.
Yeah.
That's fine,
Okay,
but I mean, I think budgeting it, tracking it, understanding how much came in and how much went out and making sure that all those details are separated and clear, so we don't have to go digging for them.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure it matters what account it's sitting in and then trying to transfer money around to figure that out.
okay.
Unless there's a benefit, you think that we would
I-
gain from.
The only benefit is that the money would be separate. That's the only benefit to it.
Ryan?
This is easier for me because we're already doing this.
Yeah, Ryan, what is your point of view on this?
You're above my pay grade if it needs to be separated or not, or what account needs to be in. I just want separate accountability for it, so we know what came in and what went out. And it'd be nice if we could maybe even get a credit card or something specific to 1A, so that all of the expenses are just, we know that those are Those are the 1A expenses.
Well, we can have a credit card that's just devoted solely to that purpose. It doesn't have to like say 1A on it. We just.
Yeah.
Well, as long as we can track it, I mean, my goal all along, and I think all of the rest of us have agreed that we need to have a separate accounting for 1A so that we can track those funds clearly. And if you're telling me that we can do that, I don't see a need for separate account.
And I would agree with that. I would like to, we need to have a separate bank account.
Yeah,
So
in
just,
fact, that just seems to.
I
me-
trust you, Matt.
And then who signs on it and how do we, I mean, I think it's easier this way, especially if if it's clear that we can track the income, we can track the expense, track the expenses, understand how much is left, how much, where it's all going, when it's going there, and budget accordingly, then I don't see a problem with that.
yeah, and just for clarity, so that I think this is made, for clarity, this is currently tracking the money in and the money out. And it's being allocated to 1A. It's not tracking funds. So if we want to track the funds, meaning the amount of money, then this is not doing that. This is just a running total for the year. And then we can go back, if we go back and categorize 1A, we could pull the performance over multiple years and see if we brought more in than we spent. But in regards to the money, the funds, this is not tracking that.
Does this take into account anything for the grants that we also have outside of the 1A? And I know that that's probably a separate deal, but do we need to keep that in consideration when we track the 1A of how we interact the money between the 1A and the grants?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Ryan. This segment is actually mislabeled at the top. This is 1A. I'm working with the team of the district leadership to get a listing of grants, and then we're going to create job codes for each grant.
Okay.
So that you can look at the income and the expense specific to each grant as well.
Okay, so I'm not hearing anything that convinces me that we need some separate bank account with separate signers and all that stuff. I think if we can, from an accounting perspective, track everything we want to track, then we're fine. You all can tell me if you disagree with me. That's just what I think.
I agree with you, Sandy.
All right, so no, you don't need to request that we could.
And we can always change it. If it's not what you want in a couple of months, we can always readdress it.
Okay,
And that was all I had.
okay, thank you very
Thank you
much.
for questions.
Okay, so Ryan, I think we're gonna turn now to the audit engagement letter.
Yes. We're just asking to engage with, let me see, I got here, Dazio and Associates. They're the accountants that do our audit, or has done our audit in the past, is my understanding. And they said that it won't exceed $8,000. So we just need to vote on that to.
Have all of you had an opportunity to take a look at the letter, the engagement letter with Dazio and Associates dated February 4th, 2026?
Is this close to the same amount that we paid last year?
Ryan, could you hear the question?
I did hear the question. I'm not aware. When I spoke to Chief, it didn't sound like they were out of line at that number. I know on other special districts, that's a pretty fair deal.
Yeah. We work with quite a few districts. That's a good price.
It's a good
I don't
price.
know what you actually paid last year, but it is.
It sounds like we used them last year
Yeah.
and Chief seems to think it's in line with what we did last year.
Okay, great.
Any other questions on this topic? May I have a motion to approve the engagement letter dated February 4th, 2026 with Dazio and Associates?
I would make a motion to approve the engagement letter with Dazio and Associates for doing our audit this year.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
Second by Joe. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion carried. Okay, turning now to the January paid bills. Ryan, do you want to talk about that?
I'm sure you guys can all see them there. We had, sorry guys, I'm a little out of sorts here working from home. trying to work off an iPad and it's a little bit tough. I worked with Chief to pay the bills. We haven't had any issues. I don't have the exact numbers of what bills we've paid currently. I apologize, but everything was. The only one concern we have is that we still have Erica Goats on a couple of different bills, and we're working on getting those off still. So. Other than that, yeah, the bills are as presented. If anybody has any questions about specific ones.
And when you say we have somebody else on the bills, that doesn't affect how it's paid or, I mean, it's just a legacy associated with who the bill used to be addressed to? Is that
Well,
what I'm?
correct, except that it actually gets mailed to her or to the previous employee. And I would have concern that maybe that the previous employee could call up and prove their identity and make changes, or that at some point it could reflect them. I don't know how if it's reimbursements or if it's in their name, but I just.
All right.
Yeah, Miranda and I have been working on that. One week Miranda, as a matter of fact, on the bills that still have her name on it. She makes notations on the actual bill itself that we have requested that change take place.
Okay.
It is a Herculean effort of bureaucracy to sometimes make those things happen. And I think there's an issue, I think Miranda was telling me today, of bills that are still open or in the process of being paid. It still shows one name, but in the future it'll show proper name. So it is, it's a found it to be not a very easy process to make that happen, but it is happening.
And I would like to say that Chief and Miranda have been great working with. I know that they're on top of it, and every month it seems like we find something new that maybe we hadn't gotten to.
Okay, so it just sounds like we're working to address some legacy issues in terms of who the bills are addressed to. And it sounds like you've got that well in hand. Does anyone have any other questions associated with the January pay bills? And Ryan, have you said everything you wanted to say about the pay bills?
I have.
Okay. Could I have a motion, please, to approve the January 2026 transactions listed in the presented treasurer's report, please?
I'll move to approve the January 2026 transactions as presented in our packet by Ryan.
Okay, may I have a second, please?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried unanimously. And I'm going to turn now to item Roman numeral 4 under 9A. Discussion action rate change in QuickBooks accounting license from Amanda Castle to Stephen Rodriguez. And I believe,
Yes.
Chief, you're going to address that.
Yeah, this is just a housekeeping item that goes along with our change from Pinnacle to J&G. The contract language, as I understand it, requires that you actually acknowledge that you changed a person from Pinnacle to a person at J&G. So that's really all this is.
And they require board action on this?
Yes.
All right. Anybody have any questions about this? All right, could I have a motion, please, to approve changing the district's Intuit QuickBooks account principal from Amanda Castle at Pinnacle to Stephen Rodriguez at Jim Vincent?
Group. It's actually James Vincent Group, just in case they're gonna be.
Okay, at James Vincent Group. Okay, I'm reading it directly.
Yeah, no, I'm looking on the screen as well.
Okay, motion to, may I have a motion, please, to approve changing the district's Intuit QuickBooks account principal from Amanda Castle at Pinnacle to Stephen Rodriguez at James Vincent Group.
I'd make a motion to change our Intuit QuickBooks account from Pinnacle, from Amanda Castle at Pinnacle to Stephen Rodriguez at James Vincent Group.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, no. The motion carried.
Well, Chair, would you like to know why it's James Vincent Group?
Sure, why not?
It's my business partner's kids' names.
Really?
Yeah, we decided Gabe and Ben really wouldn't sound as good. My kids are always upset that because I didn't have kids at the time, so my kids always ask why it's his kids, but that's why James Vincent.
That's why it's James, so his kids' names are James and Vincent.
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
All right. Does he ever call him Jim though?
No, he does not.
He does not,
No, I was
okay.
thinking that because you could probably got away with it actually.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. I
Yeah, you
appreciate it. Okay, so the next item on the agenda 9B is discussion action volunteer request to return as active retiree. And special resolution 2026-04. I'm gonna read it. Resolution regarding the need for volunteer firefighters. Have you all had an opportunity to take a look at this resolution?
Yes.
Questions, comments, concerns, discussion around this?
There is a staff report also.
Yes, I know. Did you all see the staff report that was submitted in the board book along with this? It's from Chief Jones, dated February, well, dated today, but it describes why we're making this request.
I thought that we had done this years ago, so I don't know if they passed a resolution to allow us to do this, so
We looked,
there was one I know
Yeah.
done many years ago,
did find it, because we thought the same thing.
yeah. Because we have members on that are in that situation, so I know we had to do it for them, so.
I think this one you'll find that wording is allows us to do it in the future without having to go back to you.
And that's good. I was sure the other one did too, and it was done by our attorneys at the time, so I don't know what happened to it.
We were just waiting.
Well, they don't decide to have any two separate resolutions out there. I guess this one would nullify the other and it just supersedes it. So probably no harm, no foul. And there's a more fulsome discussion in the staff report about what is going on. We have a volunteer firefighter who's interested in retiring for purposes of pension, but would also like to continue to volunteer. But would need a resolution like this to be in effect for her to do that. She won't be receiving pension benefits. She'll receive her pension benefits, but she won't be gaining additional pension benefits by virtue of continuing to volunteer. And I'm sure I butchered that description just a little bit, but I tried my best. So is there any discussion about this resolution before I call for a vote? All right, so could I have a motion to adopt resolution 2026-04, the need for volunteer firefighters?
I'll make that motion.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried. All right, we're gonna turn now, and I'm going to issue I'm going to make a statement here about item 9C. We have on the agenda discussion action adoption of wildfire resiliency code, resolution 2026-05. We are going to need to defer this discussion. Well, maybe not the discussion, we can still have a discussion, but we're going to need to defer action on this item until a future board meeting. In fact, we may need to have a special meeting in March. Sorry, I know I drive you guys into the ground with board meetings, but first of all, we're probably going to need to have an agreement between the town, county, and district regarding enforcement and how each of the overlapping jurisdictions are going to be handling their respective codes. And we also are going to need to ensure that all the proper attachments to the resolution are there, including what revisions were made to the model code and a clean version that the district will be adopting. And so we're going to need to defer discussion or defer action on this. First of all, there's not a resolution for you to consider, but we're going to need to defer action on it until at least those two things are done. That said, I did do some substantial review of this resolution, and I need, first of all, I would like, first of all, to understand who wrote it. Not the resolution, but the So I know who wrote the model code, obviously, the Colorado State Legislature wrote the model code. Who wrote the draft version, the local version that we would be requested to adopt?
I led that discussion, but that was in a group setting with Stacy Sutherland from our organization, Steve Kretschia, who's the community development director of the town of Estes Park, and Dan Wester, who's the chief building official for
Okay,
the town of Estes Park.
okay,
And we based it on what Lemon County's already adopted and is enforcing starting January 1
okay.
of this year.
There are several places in here, so I gave you a bit of a read, being a lawyer, I kind of can't help myself, statutes make me want to read. And so, probably not everybody reacts that way. There are several places in here where we have attempted to sort of go, especially in transitional places, where we're trying to add our own language to kind of transition to another section, because obviously the model code is not necessarily amenable to adopting the entire thing in its entirety, because it's really going to be dependent on a particular, how the zones and classifications are made, as I understand it, whether something, if we're talking about a class 1 or a class 2, or we're talking about the immediate space, the intermediate spaces, or we're talking about expansive spaces, and then all of these sort of zones, if you will. And I get all of that, but what's happened here is that there's some pretty vague language in some of those transitional statements that seems to me to be virtually unenforceable, or at least it's going to expose us to some pretty big debates. One, two, I am concerned about the breadth of application of some of the site rules, the site and here.
So
The
you're,
landscaping and all that associated with, I mean, how we're treating the person on a postage stamp downtown with the person who lives in Wincliffe. And applying the same standards and essentially, you know, if somebody repairs 25% of their siding, and all of a sudden they're having to clear cut their lot. And so I'm concerned about how we're employing the map to apply some of the rules around that the model code develops around some of the zones and some of the classifications. And I'd like to understand that better. And I think it would be a very good idea for us to have a document that correlates this to the model code and takes us through what's been changed from that model code, what's been taken out, what's been added, and what's been modified in some way. And I'll give you an example in section 101.7 as a reference in that to section 503.1. 503.1 obviously relates to some of these classes and zones. But 503.1 doesn't exist in our code, even though our code is referring to that section and it's telling us that it's enforceable in that section. Sorry, guys. So I can't be responsible for adopting a code or asking the board to adopt a code if we don't have that level of understanding and certainty that what we're asking be imposed upon the citizens of the district and homeowners in the district and commercial buildings in the district is something that we both agree to and understand ourselves. And that we understand how we came to be in that place with how it was drafted. Okay.
yeah, I understand. And I think that was the intention of the joint study session, was to answer all those questions and get, if there were any inconsistencies or any questions, that was what the study session was intended to elicit. So if there's more that you found looking at later, I'm more than happy to take a look at that. I may have missed a code reference. It did not get to it.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good idea to have a correlation between the model code and the,
I did my best to do that, and I thought I caught them all. So obviously I didn't catch them all.
yeah, but I mean, like, show me them side by side. I want to see, you know, a document that says this section and this section are the same. This section's not the same. Here's what we revised. This section's in the model code, but it's not in our code. Here's why. There's nothing like that here. I went and did that myself.
Okay,
Did I miss
because the
it?
intent was, and during the study session, I presented both.
Yeah,
So the red line version was, well, it was Lemon County's version of the model code.
yeah,
We were allowed to go stricter than model code.
yeah, no, I understand. And I'd like to also understand from legal exactly to what extent we need to go stricter and what revisions we can make. Because again, I'm concerned about the implications for, I understand the applicability to new construction, What I'm struggling with is that if somebody changes 25% of their roof or tries to repair 20%, 25% of their siding on their home, all of a sudden they're hit with all these added expenses and requirements.
It's really not.
But they are right here in this section, and I've read it 5 times, but it, right here in section 101.7, they are. And it refers directly to that site, and that's exactly what it's referring to. And so in that section, it's referring to actually 503.1 in the model code, which is the class 2 intermediate zone, and it's talking, and it's also talking about, I don't know, the class 2 immediate zone. So it talks about the immediate zone within 5 feet of the structure shall be made to comply with section 503.1, and 503.1 is the site reference that talks about that landscaping, and it's specifically in reference to 25% of siding, which is what I understood at our previous meeting was not going to be applicable, that those site requirements weren't going to be applicable to situations like that. And this is why I'm asking the question now, because as I get into the devil's in the details, right, when I read it in that level of detail, what I'm seeing is not consistent with what I'm hearing, and I don't think that's intentional. I just think that there's some drafting and discrepancies here that need to be addressed, and I'd like to see those addressed.
Okay, can you give any inconsistencies that you found to me in writing so I can be prepared?
I can do that for sure, but I'd also like to see, maybe you can just send me the red line, but if you're redlining the count, I want to see it against the model code.
We can do that.
Yeah, I don't need to see it against Larimer County. What I want to see it against is the model code, because the model code is what the state legislature is imposing on us. Larimer County doesn't get to impose anything on us, but I mean, the model code does.
Right.
So I'd like to see what the model code is, and I'd like to understand from our council to what extent we are able to vary, have variances from that, particularly when it comes to something other than new construction. Okay.
And that model code's available on the website, which I.
Oh, I got it. I've got it right here and highlighted and tabbed.
No, the
But
model code from the state.
Yeah, the model code from the state, but what I don't have the time or energy or desire to do is go through and see where you all made, well, people who, the drafters of the local code, where the model code, where are we deviating from the model code? Why are we deviating from the model code in that way? How is that impacting these situations, particularly when it doesn't involve new construction?
We can do that.
Yeah.
We'll take care.
Okay, thank you. I'm so sorry, I just sort of dominated because I had a bunch of questions. Well, you are all free now to ask any questions you would like to ask.
I was just gonna arise the fact that we did ask if somebody replaced their siding, would they have to do their yard work? And we were told no, but it does not. You're correct. It does not read that way. It reads that you are going to have to do all that. So it doesn't just impose it on new builds, it imposes it on everybody.
Let us come back and define that better. We'll come back with that.
Can I make one more comment?
One more.
Please.
Thank you. I just want to also express, I've been talking to the state code board and they I was just made aware of a way to petition for any changes to the state model code. So some of these questions we can put right to the state. It is quite effort to do that, but I'm willing to run through all those things with anything that we change. And again, some of the things we change, we're looking to stay consistent with Larimer County. We have to enforce both in Larimer County and the town of Essex. So if we have different rules in each, it makes it a real challenge for enforcement. Why does somebody that lives in Larimer County across the street from me not have to do this? And I do when I live in the town of Essex Park, or vice versa. So that was the goal. And we'll.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Those questions.
Yeah, I understand that. I do think that there's going to be a big public concern, and I think it's a legitimate concern. That to the extent that some of these landscaping rules apply in contexts where somebody's just trying to replace part of their roof or part of their siding, that's a big deal. And I need to understand why that is when I understood differently before. And I need to understand why the language doesn't reflect that and where the changes have come from. And again, there's just some drafting styles that perhaps need to change a little bit. There's a term in here that's an enforceable term talking about maintenance of existing structures or new structures. Okay, well, no, maintenance isn't defined. When did that start? What does that mean? Maintenance, how, to what standard? it's nowhere in here. And if we're gonna be enforcing that, it would be really nice to have a definition of it, but it's not in the model code either, because I think we probably plucked that word out of something that we thought, okay, that makes sense as a transition here, but we can't do that if we're not going to define those things very carefully and implement them very carefully and enforce them very carefully. And so words matter. They particularly matter when they're used in statutory constructs that you're trying to enforce against people or cause them, or it's going to cost them money, and you don't have a way of defining it and you haven't defined it well. And so I'm just trying to anticipate some of these problems in advance and give us, the ability to adopt a code that actually is going to be enforceable and not create hysteria.
Okay, understood.
Okay? Anyone else have any questions?
I
Comments?
just say, I gotta read that thing again.
You do it. Okay, I know I read things. I like reading statutes or something. Okay, we're going on to the next thing. So everybody knows what they're doing going forward on this, and I'm sorry to say, board members, we're probably gonna have 2 meetings on this next month, just because we're gonna have to have something on this. This is due on April 1st. There being no further discussion on item 9C. The next item for discussion is discussion action request from Essex Valley Watershed Coalition for funding. And Division Chief Lane Cameron, I'm gonna turn it over to you to discuss, open the discussion on that.
Yeah, and I'm gonna just go through the staff report that talks about this. And again, this is something annually, we've been providing funding for the Essex Valley Watershed Coalition. To assist with projects going on in our community. And we're fortunate today to have 3 folks from the Watershed Coalition here, that if there's any questions you want to ask directly of them, that's why they came tonight. So I appreciate them being here and support. Again, this was a budgeted item. It was in our budget that was approved for this year. And we did move that money from the general fund to 1A because this all is appropriate for wildland fire mitigation and fuel reduction, all the projects that are listed. So we have the Watershed Coalition, and I went to their board meeting last week. They do a lot more than that, and I knew that already, but they do a lot more than just water. They do forests and they do wildlife as well. So unless there's any questions, they did provide a proposed budget for that. This also attached to the staff report. And again, they're here to support and explain, and I'm sure Frank would like to make a comment.
Would you like to make a comment?
Oh, shoot. We're here to answer questions.
All right, have all of you had an opportunity to look at not only the report from Chief Jones, this report from you on this?
Just for me.
It's just from you. I see. It says through Chief Jones from you. All right, have all of you had an opportunity to look at that? Do we have any questions?
Yes.
Brian?
No, I don't have any questions. I've had a chance to look at it. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, no, delayed reaction. Okay, and any questions about this issue?
I can.
Go ahead, Ryan.
I was going to say, we recently had an opportunity to sit down in our subcommittee, and we're going through some of kind of what the grants and the Watershed Coalition do, and I think that was very helpful to me. I don't know that we have a report for that necessarily, but it's pretty amazing what they do for our community with the money that we provide them.
Yeah, I agree. And he's talking about the subcommittee that he and I are on together on the restructuring and on the prevention side of things, mitigation side of things. I think this is a really good report. I agree with the plan. I don't have any questions or concerns about it. Any other further discussion? Yes, Scott?
The only question I would have is how is each of these our funds tracked in each one of these projects? Is that something that, John, your people will do, or how do we track that?
I'm gonna look at Willie.
Our accountants tracks all of these projects and the different funding sources for each one.
If we be getting report on that?
We can't, so the the MOU specifically said that we would provide a report at the end of the fiscal year.
Is that on each of the projects or a global, as a single report relative to all of them?
A single report, but we could break out the funding much like that budget did.
Yeah, I think it should be based on each.
Each individual project, yeah.
So we could see where we're going with each project. Are you gonna need more money in one project than another and things like that, so. But I want to also thank you for all the work that you
Yeah.
do to help us provide fire protection in our community. So,
And
We can do that, we track as an organization, all of them very carefully, show the board.
Everybody
Very
go through
involved.
all the expenditures.
So
related
the
to-
board staff has to document that. All of it, most of what we do is grant funded, so we're used to it.
so what I'm hearing is that the grant reporting relative to each individual project would not be difficult for you and is something that you could do for us.
Yeah.
Okay. Any further questions on this issue? All right, then, may I have a motion, please, to approve the request from Estes Valley Watershed Coalition?
I would make a motion for the request for funding for the Estes Valley Watershed Coalition, or it's $50,000, is that?
Yeah, hang on, let's make it more specific than is. So, yeah, I think it's for $50,000. You wanna recraft that motion to make it specific?
I did, but okay, I'll
Oh,
make a motion.
I thought you were
$50,000
asking.
for funding for the Estes Valley Water Coalition for their projects.
I'll second.
Dogs and wolves.
second by John, okay. All in favor, say aye. All
Aye.
opposed, no. The motion carried.
Thank you for letting us stay. Keep up the good work.
You too.
You too.
Forward to working with you.
All right, I'm gonna turn now to item 9E, which is discussion action rate retention of permanent chief search consultant. And this is by the chief search subcommittee. Can I find out if is it board member Dorman or Smith that is going to be? Okay, board member, Vice President Dorman, would you please proceed?
Sure, we went through, I think we originally had, I think Chief, you might tell me, 15 applicants. I think we still,
Maybe 8.
well, maybe, 8. Okay, I thought it was quite a few more. But anyway, whatever, we worked it down to 2. We talked about this at previous meeting,
Yes,
that we had 2 different firms, consulting firms that we were looking at. And then as a committee, we decided that I would take on calling these 2 firms, get a little bit more information from them. And also going and checking their references, talking to their references, which I did. I talked to both firms. And I checked multiple references from them. Obviously, all of the references that they put down gave both sides glowing recommendations. But just talking with them, I felt like I really had got a good connection with GMP. Not so much, not that McGrath wasn't a good candidate, because they really are, but we just felt that GMP would provide a consulting firm to find us the best fit for chief for our organization. So we met about that and talked about that, and that would be our recommendation to the full board, is to go into contract with a GMP for the chief search committee.
are there any questions by any board members of the subcommittee on their recommendation? I have a question, is this the same firm that we used before?
It's not the same firm that, I think it was Prothman was the last one that we used, and this is Greg Prothman, which there was a divorce. And he
Okay,
started his own firm, GMP,
okay,
and so it's not with the original Prothman firm. So that's,
Okay.
there's a little bit confusion there, but yes.
did we use Greg Prothman when he was with that other firm, or did we, so it's a
Yeah.
different group of people?
A different group of people, but I don't know if we use.
I just wanna make sure we're using different people than the people we used before.
I have no information on that.
Okay.
The principal person that we dealt with for the last 2 searches is still employed by Rothman.
Okay, and not GMP. Okay,
And the firm that actually Graff was the one that hired Chief Wolf, did the search for Chief Wolf. So
okay,
that was a different firm.
okay,
So this is somebody
It's completely new.
okay.
They're out of the Northwest, so they're very familiar with our type of community
Right,
for wildfire concerns.
all right.
So that would be our-
Was there something that stood out that made you choose them over the others?
I think just, they're very personable, being able to work with, being in the same type of communities, that they've done a lot of work with a combination, some mostly volunteer combinations as well, departments, so I think that, and they were very insistent on wanting to find the right person, and not just the person that looks good on paper, but the right person for the right fit for our organization, so that was kind of the.
And when Scott reached out to him, they got back to us, I think you said within 10
Within
minutes.
10
Oh, really responsive.
Yeah.
Well, that's important.
Very responsive.
Okay. All right, any further questions or discussion about the recommendation?
I don't have a question, but I have a statement. Scott did a lot of work on this. I leaned on Scott a lot more because he was a chief. So I just wanted to give props to Scott. He did an excellent job and he came back with a report so that we had stuff to discuss and we did discuss it. But yeah, Scott was the man on this.
Okay, good. All right, Ryan, do you have any other questions?
No, I appreciate the answer. Thanks for all the hard work, Scott.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. Well, there not being any further discussion, then I would entertain a motion to approve the fire chief recruitment subcommittee's recommendation to hire GMP consultants as the district's consultant for the 2026 fire chief recruitment and allow, fire chief recruitment.
I moved to hire GMP consultants.
Okay, may I have a second, please? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, no. Motion carried.
President Smith, Scott and I talked a little bit about our process a little while ago. I believe Scott's gonna contact both of these, the unsuccessful ones, that are successful. After he talks to GMP, I will contact them, get the contract to our attorneys, get that approved, and then get that to you for.
All right, I think maybe also we need to do what the agenda item here asked us to do, which is to have the board authorize me to sign that engagement contract once it is entered into. So could I have that motion as well?
Motion to let Sandy sign the contract.
Could I have a second, please?
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The motion carried.
After signing the contracts by both parties, then they'll get with us and they will set a meeting, their kind of introductory type of meeting, with you probably relatively soon after that. So it could be within 2 or 3 weeks that we're ready to schedule, so that could
Good.
work out, be part of maybe a special meeting in early March.
Okay,
So that could work out.
since it's looking more and more like we might have one of those. Okay. All right, are we ready to move on to the, all right, okay, I'm going to. Am I in this meeting?
Or let me stop sharing the screen so you can share yours.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna turn now to item F on the agenda. And this is the report of the restructuring committee, which is actually now a consolidation of 2 committees. As you know, as the president, I can appoint or disappoint. Disappoint. I definitely disappoint from that, but anyway, I can do any and above all of those things. Members of subcommittees, and I have elected to disappoint and do so. So in this case, we had 2 subcommittees that were essentially doing the same work. Or tripping over each other in the process of attempting to do so, and that was the restructuring committee, and then the subcommittee that we had looking into the work of the prevention division and the use of 1A funds and grant funds. And so I use my authority to consolidate those two subcommittees into one. I'm calling it the restructuring committee. That committee is composed of or populated by me and Ryan Leahy. We had a 4.5-hour meeting with the subcommittee and Division Chief Landcamer and Chief Jones, and really worked through all the details in an extraordinary amount of detail, actually, about what the organizational structure of that side of the house ought to be. And I've been putting this up and you all are staring at it, and I'm really glad you are, but the reason that I have created this is because the last part of our work in the restructuring committee really was to take a look at the prevention side of things. And this now is a document that I hope will represent the organizational structure of the entire department, based on the work of the restructuring committee. So you can see here that obviously at the top of our organizational chart is our community members, citizens of our community. They're our bosses. Reporting to them is the board of directors. That's us up here on this table. Reporting to the board of directors is the fire chief. And the fire chief then has an administrative staff that we basically created for him based on work that we've done in previous meetings, and the board has previously approved the creation of the executive assistant to the fire chief and an administrative specialist that will do the work of what was formerly the chief of staff and an assistant and on the administrative side of things. There will be two divisions. We've talked about one of them in previous board meetings, so I won't belabor the point, but that's obviously the division, the operations and training division. We are presently, and we have a topic for discussion here in a moment, after I get through this presentation, related to the hiring of a division chief for that division. Reporting to that division chief will be a training and volunteer coordination captain. And then as you can see, the structure from before the reorganization has continued on. So it was still the two volunteer captains and the volunteer firefighters and the auxiliary. Looking at what presently is known as the prevention side of the house, which includes the fire prevention work as well as the wildfire mitigation work. We as a subcommittee are recommending that we call that division the Community Risk Reduction Division. It more fairly encompasses everything that division does, including the fire prevention as well as the wildland mitigation work that needs to be overseen and handled and managed on that side of the department. We've talked previous board meetings about the need for a fire prevention officer. We've authorized Division Chief Landcamer, who would be the division chief of the newly named Community Risk Reduction Division. He is bringing us a job description. He's unable to do so at this meeting in large part because of all the good work he's doing on the wildfire resiliency code and working with the town and others in accomplishing and trying to get all of that work done, which has a time limitation on it. But in the fire prevention side, we have fire prevention captain, and we will soon have a second fire prevention officer that will work with that captain to ensure that work gets done. Obviously, that is a lot of work, and having one person now trying to do all of it is really not feasible. We have a wildfire educator also reporting to that division chief, existing wildfire educator. And you have what you see in red here is what we're proposing as a subcommittee. And Ryan, please feel free to chime in anytime you want, but I did try to capture our 4.5-hour meeting And I'm trying to encapsulate it into hopefully less than a 10-minute presentation, so that people don't have to break out their sleeping bags. So we have wildfire project planner and planner and management coordinator. I'm gonna now do a little bit deeper dive into wildfire project development and management, because it's in red because it's somebody we don't have and there's no position for it yet. And we're gonna be asking that the chief be authorized to create a position that is going to perform these functions. There are functions that absolutely have to be performed and now. So if you break out the community risk reduction division side of things and leave aside, because we've already addressed the fire prevention officer needs. So I didn't carry it over into this side, this particular chart. I'm looking only at wildfire education and wildfire project development and management. You can see the responsibilities that I've identified under what the division chief is responsible for doing, what our educator is responsible for doing, as well as what the sources of funding are. And then what work needs to be done and is right now people who are really responsible for doing other things are trying to do. But it's a need that we have is the area of project development and management in the wildfire area. And this person would be engaged in new fuel treatment project development, grant management, contract management, reporting and financial management on all of those grants, major fuel treatment project coordination, grant applications and management, management, and partner relationships, including with watersheds, NCO, Fireshed, Larimer County. I'll give you an opportunity. I don't know if you can you see the writing up there? Is that?
I can't.
Can I comment on this, Sandy, while you have it up?
Yeah.
You can see that it exists. That's not very helpful.
That's better.
I'm gonna move this one over under the one under the red, because that's where that's where our ask is right now. Is, as I said, we went through and Brian, yes, I'm gonna give you an opportunity. I did hear you. I didn't just ignore you. Give me just a second. We went through in an immense amount of detail, what our funding sources are, the work that, we are doing presently and have done in the past. We see a huge number of grants coming, in large quantities. These are going to be reimbursement grants where we're going to be using 1A funds to actually perform the tasks necessary under the grant and then seeking reimbursement from the grant. So we leverage 1A funds to do more projects that way. It makes a lot more sense to do it that way than to have two people trying to do project. There's two people are never going to be able to do all these projects, not on these kinds of scales. And what we really need is a professional person who can manage not only the project development piece of it, but also the contract management side of it, as well as all the reporting obligations associated with those kinds of grants, particularly when they come from the federal government. Grant reporting requirements can be pretty onerous. But looking at all the sources of funding and all of the details around what the grants require us to do and what our reporting obligations are, led us to conclude that we really do need a person in a position who can handle this side of things and all of these reporting obligations. Ryan, go ahead.
No, I'm glad I was patient because you covered everything I wanted to say and said it way better than I would have. So
I'm glad I managed to do that. I think I've captured everything I wanted to say. I mean, I literally tried to condense a 4.5-hour meeting into 10 minutes, but I'm going to zoom back out here. I'm going to go back here because really everything in this org chart, we've already done as a board, except for the block in red. And that is really where we need somebody. We need somebody with skill set.
I do want to make one comment. It's my understanding that the captains and the officers in the prevention side of things are administrative, correct? They're not operational in
Are you talking about the red
position. I'm sorry.
Are you talking about the red box? Cause I think.
No,
I
I'm
think-
talking about where you see captain or you see officer on the administrative or in the prevention side or administrative. That doesn't make them captain or officer in operations.
Yes, that's my understanding, and I understand that that's kind of complex, but I think that's already the case. You know, we're not, yeah, but I think it's already the case that there's some sort of administrative designation for somebody to be a captain.
Yes.
In the in the firefighting sense, and then separately a captain in a non-firefighting sense, correct? So yeah, and we know what we're talking about. We already have the fire prevention captain and we made her a captain, so
Mhm.
Howie. So I don't think it's a debate that, so, but yeah, so what we're now looking at is we're looking at really somebody who's, we're gonna probably need to go outside for this position because it's a skill set that we really need. The skill set that we really need from a person in this kind of position is gonna be serious experience with contract, grant management, grant proposals, grant drafting, project proposals and implementation. I mean, I'm not gonna guarantee that that's what it is, but I'd be shocked if we could develop that in-house. I'm not saying we can't. I'm just saying we're gonna need someone with some serious experience in those areas. Just based on everything I heard in our series of lengthy meetings. But we do need to, I think as a board, authorize the development of a position that's going to fit into that red box. So I would request that we not only authorize the creation of a position in that place, but in that space, but ask the chief and division chief Landcamer to come back to us with a proposal for what that position would be, what the job description would be, and what the pay scale would be, just like we did with the other positions.
And also we
And-
need the same thing with the fire prevention officer.
We already did that. I mean, well, we've already created.
Created it, but we haven't got the job. We will bring back the job description.
Yeah, I already said that. I already said the division chief Landcamer didn't have time to do that because of the WRC. I understand you're working with the WRC, but we know we're waiting for him to come back to us with a job description and a pay scale proposal.
Once he's done with this.
Yes, Scott.
So are we saying that everybody on the community fire reduction side of this cannot respond to fires?
No, I
That's
think,
ridiculous.
I think what we're saying is that there's a captain in a position right now that says captain, and she doesn't happen to be a captain in a firefighting
Captain
department.
of
She's
the organization, captain of the organization have a specific role, but that doesn't mean that they can't. We're
Oh, I
a
think she
small
can fight.
organization. We need people that can go to both sides.
Could you please?
I'll clarify this.
Yeah, but
Thank you.
So an operational captain is Captain Kearney and Captain Spear. They are in charge of our volunteer lieutenants, firefighters. They are operational captains. So they have gone through all the training and all the things that they need to be designated as a captain within the operational realm of this department. Whereas I am a prevention captain. Yes, I have done other things on the prevention side to earn that status and earn that designation, but I am not the same as an operational captain, as I have not done the operational training and all of those things to be an operational captain.
okay, understand.
Does that make sense?
But he can still.
That's what I was very inartfully trying to say.
But are you firefighter one?
I am still a firefighter.
Okay,
too.
then you should be able, firefighter two, you should be able to respond to calls.
Yes, yes, yes. That's not
And she
the
is.
issue.
And she does,
Yes.
she is.
Yes.
Saying that they could.
No, he's just saying
Can't be a captain.
she can't be an operational captain, so,
Okay,
because
my
we use-
bad, I understand.
because it's my fault, I'm the one who created the uncertainty, because I used the term captain in the operational context on this chart, and also on the and I didn't put I should have put an asterisk or something. So I'm sorry, I'm the one who created that uncertainty.
Where does on the org chart, where does the fire marshal and fire inspectors and code enforcement come in?
That's all in the fire prevention side. We have the fire prevention captain, all the code enforcement, everything is in that side. That's,
Okay, because I don't see it on the chart.
it's to the left under the right yellow box where it says fire prevention captain.
I can't see. It's-
Here, let me make it bigger.
It doesn't present any captain.
It's in green, fire prevention
Fire
captain.
prevention cap,
Right
but
there.
that doesn't say.
He's asking where is the marshal at?
Where's the fire marshal?
We don't have a fire marshal right now, but we have, so the fire prevention captain works with our externally sourced fire marshal.
Shouldn't we list like inspectors and fire marshal and inspectors on there? I mean, I have a little problem with that org chart, the way it's set. I think it's there's too gray area
Okay,
to me.
so how would you like to?
Well, maybe we should read the descriptions of the fire prevention captain and the description of the fire prevention officer to see if that clarifies them, because it's just titles right now.
Yeah, we just put the titles in there. So that's meant to designate Stacy, who handles all of our code enforcement. She's a captain in fire prevention right now, so that's meant to designate that existing position. The one below that, fire prevention officer, is meant to designate a position we've authorized but have not, we're authorizing them to come back to us with a description of a title, of what the job description is gonna be and what the pay scale is going to be, so we'll have a
So
specific.
some of that might say that they have to be an inspector one or inspector two.
Right, so we can be more specific about what that person is once they return to us with the job description.
Didn't show it there, so I'm just.
Well, we don't have it yet, and that's why I said we don't yet have the job description or the pay scale or any of that for that purple one. The one above it right now is meant to designate states. We can put, we don't have a fire marshal right now, so putting fire marshal might be the wrong thing to do. But what we can do, like I did with the other thing, because I tried to break it down into more granular level of detail about what this person does, we can put down all the code enforcement, inspection, all those things. But yeah. How would you like to categorize?
Can I add a little bit of clarity?
Mhm.
We still use a third-party contractor to do plan review and any fire marshal issues we may have. That's not going away until proper certifications are in place for our staff that are growing into those positions.
Makes sense. Yeah, thank you.
So, we have a captain in that position right now. And is it safe to say she's a fire prevention captain, or do we want to call it something else?
So kind of generic, job descriptions right now, and we'll work through that as I bring a proposal in. It's just to identify those positions. She's currently at Inspector 2, ready to hopefully soon go plan review, which are those qualifications we need to move her towards fire marshal.
Okay.
And I'm happy, I mean, I think right now what I was trying to do is just to create something that fit inside of my little boxes that could designate for you where we stand. So obviously we've dealt with and we have addressed the job description for the operations and training division. Chief, we're actively searching for that person. And we have a more specific, oops, I did not mean to do that. Stop. Training and volunteer coordination captain that derives from that process that we've had already. We have in Stacy fire prevention captain, and we're in the very early stages of the same process we were in on the operations side of identifying a second position in that world, in the prevention world that involves all of the code enforcement and inspection and all of those things. And they're coming back to us with a job description and pay scale relative to that. We do have a wildfire educator, and the wildfire educator is called that everywhere I've seen anything in the fire department. There he is. We know who that is as well. And then the red box is really about, again, I tried to capture what it is we're looking for, but we're going to have to get back to us from the people who know far better than I do exactly what that person needs to do. But I've tried to capture that for you in this sort of breakout of this so that you can see what it is we have now in-house in terms of education. There's obviously going to be some interface between those two things, but where we really need help in connection with grant management and project development. And
I really appreciate the subcommittee's work on this. It was a lot of work. Could I get a printout of that? I'd like to look at it.
I will email it to you. How's that?
And Scott, I gotta tell you, each one of these divisions and the chief, they took up the whole whiteboard. This is a very condensed version. There's a lot of information that goes in with this. One thing I did want to point out is looking on the prevention side, the inspectors, they're not inspectors. I can't see it there. It's too small on my screen, but Chief Stacy Sutherland and the person under her are coming out of the general fund. Everybody else on that side, other than Chief, is all paid for by 1A. So their vehicles, they're all funded by the grants and by the 1A. And hopefully we can perpetuate that and then continue to, if necessary, grow that under that program, but it doesn't come out of the general fund of the district.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you know what, I'm trying to figure out a way and to share a photo that I've got on my computer. So I'm gonna show you guys the results of our board, our big meeting. How do I share another thing?
Full picture.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm just trying to figure out how to do that on screenshot. Okay, stop share. There we go. Okay, now I'm gonna share another thing. So. There we go. We
Couldn't read the last one.
couldn't read the
And
last
that's
one.
after we cleaned it.
That's after we cleaned it. That's actually partway through it. Ryan has a better one to be standing in front of it with it. I had color codes going and everything else, but we definitely did do a lot of work to try to get to the place where we did.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you did. I wasn't trying to say that you didn't. I just had some questions.
Of course.
The structure. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So, can.
I'm gonna stop sharing.
Sorry, if you go back to the other screen.
Yes, I'm going to do that just now, I think.
Uh,
Other one?
So when we do have a fire marshal, if that happens, do we have to do all this again to rename that?
No.
It's not gonna open up, I mean, we're not gonna like add fire marshal to that. It should just be.
No, I think she just ascends to fire marshal and the name in the green box changes.
And the purple box, once we get.
Reports to the then
Yeah,
fire
once John
marshal
goes
or
through
the
everything,
captain.
That'll be an inspector of some sort.
Yeah, it's better one.
For the most part, that's what they're for. That's what I'm understanding, to
Yeah.
help state, okay. That's all I have.
Any other questions? All right, so I guess we have two asks for you.
And the asks for John will be down the road after we get through.
These are the asks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it would be a motion to approve renaming the Support Services Division to the Community Risk Reduction Division. And to add a position wildfire in the area of wildfire project development and management.
And I would like to point out that we do have that already in the budget. Am I correct, Sandy, on that?
Yeah, we do. I
We
believe.
do have that position in the budget for the 1A.
Yes, we do. Yes, the answer is yes. Now, the agenda item that is in our board book did not include the structure question, but it's included in the agenda because I specifically added in the agenda that I was going to be asking to discuss act regarding both the division name and structure. It's in the agenda, but for some reason, whoever tried drafting the motion here didn't do it.
Yes, that structure word came in after you and I talked, after we got the book sent out.
Oh, okay. Well, in any event, I think I need, let's do two motions. One is to rename the Support Services Division to the Community Risk Reduction Division. So could I have that motion first?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Excuse me, shouldn't we have comment?
Aye.
Oh, we can, oh, I'm sorry, yeah, yes, any further discussion on that motion?
Because I do have a comment.
Yes, please, go
As
ahead.
far as support services also took care of apparatus and facilities. Is that gonna be spelled out in these other positions?
So you can see that facilities they took it off my little
Okay,
chart.
you
doesn't
don't have to back.
But he's doing facilities and eventually it's getting shifted over to administrative. And we had talked about that when we talked about it, what the chief is doing, the fire chief is doing and the administrative staff, because it made more sense to have some of the facilities, building and stuff there, and we're moving apparatus maintenance and the like to operations. These are happening in shifts over time. But that's part of the operations division.
All right, thank you. That's all.
Okay, so on the motion, I'm gonna restate the motion. The motion is to approve renaming the support services division to community risk reduction division. And I have a motion and a second, so can I have a vote, please? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion carried. So then the second motion would be to approve the structure of the risk reduction division as presented to include a position involving wildfire project development and management coordination.
Is
Yes,
that for him to bring job descriptions to us
it
first?
is, just like we did the last time. So this, okay. May I have a second, please? Any further discussion on this issue? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion carries. So I just one thing I want to say is, I really appreciate the incredible work of Chief Jones, Division Chief Landcamer, and Division Chief Thomas, because we've had a lot of meetings. And if you add the work of the subcommittee that was diving into some of the work of the prevention committee, there's just, since the formation of this particular board, there's been a lot of effort that has gone into developing this organizational structure and also understanding the nature of the department, the people in it, what they do. I have to say that I'm really proud to be a part of this organization because I think you all are pretty amazing people. But I also just want to thank the restructuring committee and the prevention committee and all that, because our work is essentially done at this point, and we're just now awaiting job descriptions and pay scales and things like that. But again, I just want to say my appreciation.
Brendan Smith, one thing that this organizational chart does not reflect that has been reflected in our past ones is we have had a box for our chaplain. You have an objection to us putting that back in?
No, I didn't. The one I was kind of modeling after, which you guys sent me, I didn't have it. Okay, all right, no, please go right ahead and put it in. Yeah, no, absolutely. Probably up there, kind of off to the right from where administration is, you would be a good place for it. Yeah, no, anyone have any objection to that?
No.
And you know, what I might do is actually bring a formal organizational chart once we've got to, you know, we were awaiting some job descriptions and things like that, but it might be a good idea once we've got those formal job descriptions and everything in to do as Scott has suggested and make these just a little bit more detailed, so we have a more formal org chart, organizational chart that includes these other things, and then we can formally adopt that org chart.
Yeah, we should post it.
And then we can post it on our website. Okay, we'll do that. Okay.
Nice.
Okay, I'm still at work here. Hang on a second. All right, so we're gonna turn to item 9G now. Just discussion, action, array, operations and training division chief hiring process.
Okay, at the last meeting, you asked me to come back and tell you how many candidates we had for the operations training chief. And then based on that number, you would either then decide to allow us to continue with the process we have now or go to an external process. We have 3 candidates. that have applied for the position. And my recommendation is that we continue with the process that we have now.
All right, I'll open it up for discussion. Anybody have any comments?
I think it's, since we have three candidates, I think that's enough that we can go move forward with that and do it internally. I don't think we need to go out.
I agree. I think that three is sufficient.
I agree.
I agree too.
I agree.
Go forth and
I don't think it takes
engage in
a
the
motion.
process.
No.
It doesn't, we already did it.
Got it?
Go forth and conquer.
Okay, moving on then to. Oh my, did you guys have time for dinner? Item H, 9H, report on sales tax selection. Chief Jones, I'll turn that over to you. to
Okay,
introduce.
this is a project that, you identified, a couple months ago. We talked about the projects that we were working on during an interim period, and you asked me to move it up from I think the wait for the new chief to we do some work on it before the new chief. And since that time, the town has, really started to move forward with plans on acquiring a piece of property and building a police facility. I think we all thought that might take a little longer than it's looking like now, which kind of puts us in a position of that, we had talked about maybe doing something coordinated with the town as far as going to some kind of an election to make us financially independent from the town, as well as address some other needs. I have put together kind of a briefing paper on this. See where you wanted to go. There are several issues that need to be considered. One is, if we want to move forward with an election, what would the timing of that be? I think you've already decided that you didn't want to do in 2026, which we're already February, so it probably takes that out. But most of the discussion that I've heard has been maybe 2027. So if we do something in 2027, do we do it in November or do we do it in May? And there's advantages and disadvantages to both. Also have to decide what kind of a tax to go for, either increase our mill levy or ask the citizens to establish a sales tax. Right now, it looks like our preliminary analysis is that it would take about 1/4% of sales, 1% sales tax to replace the town's contribution of about 1.3 million. However, there are other needs that we might have. Certainly we need money for capital replacement of our fire trucks. That's kind of a big need for us. So we might want to look at that. So deciding on property tax or sales tax is another question. Again, I think most of the discussion has been on sales tax. But property tax, our property taxes, mill levy is very, 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 very low. And there's reasons for that. I think when we get there, Scott can tell us about the history of how we got to where they are today. We also need to talk about what our needs are. Certainly, replacing the 1.3 that we get from million that we get from the town now. But we may have other needs as well. I mentioned capital replacement on fire apparatus. That's probably gonna be in the range of at least $500,000 a year to replace our fire apparatus over the long term. We have, Ron, how many millions of dollars of need do we have? I think you're probably the most knowledgeable.
Depending on what kind of time frame you're looking at.
Well, to replace things within our 20-year useful use, it's many, like 20 billion or something.
Yeah, I think, I wanna say somewhere around 23, 24 mil, I think. That's in a 25-year time span.
So it's a lot of money. And if we don't do it, can't replace our apparatus, which can be a real problem. I think I've shared with some of you that every agency that I've served has had exactly this problem, and a couple of them, almost all of them in insolvency. Because it is such a problem. If you don't fund your capital replacement of apparatus, you get into big trouble down the road. So we need to deal with that piece. There may be other expenses that we have. For instance, we've talked about consolidating offices in this building and making improvements to this building that makes it safer and better to use for our volunteer firefighters that have to use this building all the time. So there's that piece of it. We also need to talk about organizational commitment. How do we bring on our entire organization? Because to go to any kind of a election, ask the citizens, more money, whether it be a property tax or sales tax, we need to have 100% organizational commitment to make that happen. And we need to talk about, so we know everybody understands what the need is and how the citizens benefit from it and how our internal members benefit from it and how the organization and how the town benefits from it. The next piece is we need to talk about our public information, communications and advocacy, how we put all that together, to present that case, you know, externally as internally as well. So those are the kind of things we need to talk about. And depending on when you decide you think you might want to do this, it kind of, you know, if you want to go for a November election of 2027, then you need to start about for at least 4 to 5 months before that to meet all the legal requirements. But we really need to be talking a year before to start lining up all that and doing all the things that are needed. There's also an impact on the recruitment of new fire chief. I would guess you don't want to be in a position of starting a new fire chief right in the middle of this process. That probably would not be a good thing, so, getting a new fire chief in here, you know, as expediently as possible is probably a good thing. If you were to decide on a May 2027 election, then you really need to start on that like, 2 months from now. So that's kind of what this paper outlines. I made 1, 2, 3 recommendations here. One is that, potentially think about a work session, maybe in April. To discuss this a particular item, maybe bringing in a couple folks that have done these kind of elections in the past. Maybe a consultant or 2 that would want to talk to us about what kind of services they can provide. Because you have to do a number of different things to get this kind of going. We have to bring in somebody, or maybe not bring them in, but at least to get analysis from the county and possibly even the state about how our needs translate into a sales tax. Because there are different categories of sales needs. And we need to talk about what those are. To give you a quick, I think Scott knows this, when we formed the district, or when the district was formed, we couldn't do a sales tax at that time. So that wasn't even on the table. Now fire districts can go to sales tax. And a good number of districts are doing that now to supplement the property tax. And some are doing it to the range of a full cent, have been successful with that. That's probably not something we need. I'm thinking, looking at the situation now, we probably need somewhere in the range of a half of a percent. And I think you're all aware of this even more than I am, that a large percentage, I think I've heard the figure 83%. Of sales tax is paid by non-residents, people that come here and visit, so that's something. So potentially a work session maybe in April. Accelerating the fire chief recruitment and selection process, which we're on the road for that now. And then also starting to build a really robust communication strategy of how we start getting this whole issue out to the public, coordinated with the town as much as we can, as well as internally. So those are the 3 actions that I would suggest that we pursue, you know, in the near future, in the next couple of months.
So you're suggesting we actually schedule a work session perhaps for April where we discuss those 3?
Yes, yes, well, actually, those 5 issues.
All right, so what we would think about doing then is having a meeting, our normal April meeting, just start early, like around 3. So that we can have a work session to discuss that. All right, so let's plan on doing that for our
Okay.
April meeting, and you'd send an email around and everybody can check their calendars. I'm sure that if you can't do it, let us know and we'll have to schedule a special meeting. Or just a work session around that. Okay.
Yeah, Sandy, I'll talk to you and I can talk a little bit more about who we might want to have at that
Yes,
work session
we
as
can do
far
that.
as. Yep.
Yeah. we can do it. Okay. All right, so let's move on to mini briefing from Division Chief Thomas. Briefing.
Right. She
Please.
gave me the clicker. Should get in there. I'm gonna come stand in the front. It's weird to have students behind me.
We're gonna-
Like behind me when I'm standing here is all I'm saying. No, you're good.
Let's see if it works when I show the screen.
Okay. Yeah, it does. Okay. Can you see? Can you see it?
Oh, yeah.
I was asked to do a mini briefing on our recruitment process. So I have 9 slides. And I just want to say that all the photos in here are from incidents we've had, trainings we've had, but they're local. Okay. So what does it take to become an Estes Valley Fire Protection District firefighter? Our new member process, you must live within the district. We've had times where we tried to take out of district folks and we are not set up well for it. We have found that it doesn't work well for them, and then in turn, it doesn't work well for us. As much as we want to and we try real hard, it has never really worked. You attend 2 Tuesday night trainings, again, to get to meet people, see if this is a place you feel like you're gonna fit in, and vice versa. Background and DMV check, obviously just making sure those boxes are checked. We do a panel interview, and we put out a message to the firefighters and we get whoever volunteers for the panel. We have a standard set of questions they ask. There's also a mechanical aptitude. It's not a pass or fail. It's just, if you turn this gear in your mind, you realize like it turns this one the other way and turns the other one the other way. Just kind of seeing if you think through systems in that way. New member task book, I've actually outlined that down here on the bottom. And then once you get done with that, then you end up heading to Fire Academy, which is here in Estes at our training grounds. So the new member task book is, again, it's spelled out there, apparatus familiarizations. We open all the compartments on the 10 main rigs that we take out, and they learn where things are. It's just supposed to be a general overview, because that's the kind of things they do when they first start running calls with us. OSHA training, NIMS is the National. Thank you. I was like, Institute. Nope, that's the wrong word. National Incident Management System, 1, 2, 7, and 8 are kind of the initial low level. How do we structure our incidents? Courage to be Safe is National Fallen Firefighter course. It's essentially, how do you say, I don't feel comfortable with that assignment while you're on scene? In a respectful way, and understanding that if you don't feel confident with the skills required, you can say, I don't feel confident with that, and it's okay. That's a great one. Do a little bit of communications and radio classes, like the buttons and the pushies and the turnies. Just because most people have never used a radio before, so it's basic. Hazmat awareness, CPR, obviously, medical call understanding is actually something we developed from people when they first start. Sandy's never run a medical call in her life. So if I said, okay, you've gone through your task book now, the next call we get, come. And it's your neighbor or a little further up in Windcliff. So you're first on scene and you're like, what do I do? Like, they might be having a stroke and like, what do you do for that? I don't know. I'm new. So we go through a little bit of how to deal with that. We give you some plan, some strategy, so that when you do show up, you have an idea of what to do. Especially in your neighborhood, you could be on scene for 10 to 15 to 20 minutes before anybody gets there. So we give you a plan for that, which is really helpful for us and for EMS. And then an inspection ride along. This one is new in the last year or two. So they actually go to an inspection with Stacy. What it does is it connects the dots. What does she do that helps us? What can we do to help her? So it connects the dots, which is a really great thing. We have stop gates. So stop gate number 1 is the CPAT, the Candidate Physical Ability Test. Since I don't assume you know what that is, think of an obstacle course for firefighters. It's based on the IAFC, the International Association of Fire Chiefs. Did I get that one? They have a standard test that they do. We've kind of adjusted it and adopted it for us. So if they can't complete the CPAT, they move on and go volunteer at the library or wherever they want to go. So we do have that is our stop gate number one. Stop gate number two, the new member task book, they have 3 months to complete it, and I have definitely had people time out. Life gets busy, it's not a priority to them, and it's like, thank you, if you're interested in it again, and life changes, come back and apply again. Stop gate number three is the exterior task book. It's kind of funny that it's called that. Essentially, we have certain members who say, I want to be a firefighter, but I don't want to go inside. That's cool. We can do that. And what it means is they complete the first part of academy. It's essentially the first half of academy. So they throw ladders, they can fight a car fire, they can fight a dumpster fire. Again, it's everything outside. They can receive a victim from a window on a ladder, but they're not inside the burning building. Does that make sense? So that's the bare minimum. Stop gate number 4 is the interior task book. Obviously, if Sandy comes on and she says, I just want to be an exterior, we're good. So your process, your stop gates kind of end at stop gate number 3. But Scott comes back because he wants to be an interior firefighter. And so he completes that. Does that make sense? So those are our stop gates. They're kind of like the stop dead in your tracks kind of things. So if you don't get past that, you don't move on. So what roles do we have that you can fill? Obviously, interior firefighter, exterior firefighter is mandatory unless you're an auxiliary. We'll get there in a minute. So auxiliary member, and then we have different teams. We have the Swiftwater swimmers, ice rescue teams, wildland firefighters, and then EMS and engineer. Again, we don't dispatch an ambulance out of our station, but we assist with EMS. So we have some folks who say, I want to be an EMT because I think that's cool. We say, okay, go for it. We have a reimbursement process for them. It's one that they get a little bit of money strung out over a long amount of time, so they pay up front, and then we reimburse that, but as we get service from them. Does that make sense? And then engineering, and a lot of this is stuff you get into as you go along. Right? If you just become a firefighter 1 and you're done, and you're good with that, that's fine, but we have a lot of people who want to move forward. I want to learn how to drive the truck. Okay, now I want to learn how to pump the truck. Now I want to learn how to fly the aerial. Now I want to learn all these other things. So we have a lot of different roles that we can fill. But you are a firefighter or an auxiliary first. Right? Does that make sense? Historically, we had people who joined just for when we had a dive team. They joined specifically for that, and we don't do that anymore. So you're coming on as a firefighter or an auxiliary. So Fire Academy conducted at our training grounds there. This is a photo, and this is also a photo from our Fire Academy. So Thursdays, 1800 to 2200. So that's 6 to 10. Saturdays, 8 to 5. It starts August 30th this year. Exterior ends September 12th. Interior ends November 7th, and then hazmat with yours truly ends December 19th. So essentially my life from August 30th until the end of the year is wrapped up in Fire Academy. So teaching Tuesday nights, Thursday nights, and all day Saturday. So, but that happens up here. It's a huge benefit to our folks. We used to send people down to Boulder, and it was 3 nights a week plus a commute. So huge benefit. The other benefit to having our academy up here is we train our mutual aid partners. We get Allens Park people, we get Big Elk people, we get Pinewood Springs people, we get some Loveland rural folks, we'll get Glenhaven, thank you. I was getting there. But it's cool because we see each other on scene and we know what they know and they know what we know. So it's great for coordinating that together. So firefighter annual requirements, once you come on, once you pass all the stop gates, you still have the requirements that you got to fulfill. Minimum of 45 calls, 72 hours of training is face-to-face training. We have some folks who are full-time firefighters in other places. And yes, I know they get phenomenal training and that's great. But if they know PFA's rigs in and out, that doesn't do us any good here because I don't have the same rigs they have. And if they show up on scene and they're the most amazing firefighter we have, but nobody knows who they are, that doesn't breed confidence with our folks either. So it is face-to-face training here with us. And then 6 apparatus checks. Those are scheduled on Sunday afternoons. They just go through the apparatus, make sure it's got fuel, water, all the tools work. There's nothing missing, nothing broken. It gives familiarization with the apparatus. That's what we call all the trucks, by the way, just making sure everybody's tracking with that. Making sure everything's on there that we're anticipating there is going to be on there. And then members who maintain active membership status earn pension and LoSAP benefits. So we do have benefits that our volunteers get. I'm not gonna go into that. This is all about recruitment. But if they maintain active membership status, they earn pension and LoSAP, the length of service award program. It's money we squirrel away for you, and then when you retire, we cut you a check. So auxiliary, they serve the fire district in a support role that may include. So auxiliary is kind of new. Nola's here, she's representing. It's kind of new. We started it maybe 2 years ago, and it is growing in scope, which is cool. So they do public education. They are the friendly faces that we send out to the farmers market in the summer. They'll also help Stacy. Stacy's working with them right now on, can they interact with some of her inspection stuff to help her out? They do station projects. Holy moly, do they do station projects? Tons and tons and tons of them. As far as they've inventoried all of our bunker gear, all of our water gear, all of our ice rescue gear. We now have serial numbers, dates, sizes, who it's issued to in a very, 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 very organized spreadsheet. So it's easy to access, easy to figure out. So they're working on stuff like that. They assist with events. They provide station care and basic maintenance. I think Jack came and weed whacked a couple times last year. I know a few of them were pulling weeds. They support emergency scenes. Let me tell you, you get a 5 a.m. call and then you come back to the station and there's food here. Nobody's bummed about that. Yeah. Okay, so huge support that way, but this picture here is after an event that we had, and the hoses are all rolled out because we're washing hoses. So they show up at the station after we've gotten our butts kicked on scene for the last however long, and they help us clean the things, wash the rigs, get it all back in service. So it's a fresh set of hands on the tail end when we've been busting our butts. So you must live within the primary response area of Estes Valley Fire Protection District. And then we have a task book for them as well. It's actually the same task book, bless you, that the chaplain goes through. They just read a different job description and SOP, as you'll see on the list here. So they do ICS 100, again, very, very basic of like how we put the pieces together on scene. We just want them to have a basic understanding of, we have a way we organize the scene, and that's what we adhere to, so they kind of understand how the incident comes together. Again, OSHA training, they get a pager you can't talk on. It's a little box about this big, has a little antenna, and they can listen to our radio traffic. They can listen to TAC 1, TAC 2, TAC 3, and fire primary, as well as the ambulance channels on that pager, but they cannot talk. So it's listening only. Again, they requested that. They just wanted to know, like, is this gonna be an extended incident? Or is this gonna be, you know, get in, get out, wrap it up, not a big deal. So again, that was that. They do a station and apparatus familiarization, not like the firefighters do. We kind of walk around. This is the janitor closet. This is the that, this is the that. This is where we keep the printer paper. This is where the rigs are. Snacks, 100%. Actually, the snack closet has been taken over by one of the
They did
auxiliaries.
a presentation on their program.
Yes.
And then they took
Yep.
me to the snap club.
So, yeah. Job description, again, it's just reiterating to them, like, what are you signing up for? And then they do a public education training, and they also have an interview. It's typically with Captain Kearney. He's the head over the auxiliary program as far as the firefighter standpoint or the officer standpoint. And then they have a couple volunteers. Typically, the auxiliaries who interview the person just to make sure that they're gonna be a fit for the program. Auxiliary member expected to contribute no less than 36 hours per year. I don't think there was anybody remotely in the ballpark of that. I think our Diana Vanderplug was our highest, and she had over 250 hours herself. I think she might double that this year. So, this is what I'm gonna finish with. This is a super cool thing. I will read it. Chief, I will read it for you. When we did a recruitment event a few years ago, I had one of the members say, "Can I write a poem?" To be honest, it never actually occurred to me that someone would write a poem, let alone would actually write it, and it's pretty freaking awesome. So this is by Talia Filsinger. She called it District of Protection. This is how it goes. Sirens wailing in the distance. I hope everyone's okay. I used to pray out loud, then go on about my day. I never gave a second thought to the unfolding situation. The 911 triggering volunteers to respond to the station. Our ordinary Estes neighbors willing to support the community, giving whatever they can offer, excited to fill this opportunity. People who own businesses, some work as wait staff or in retail, some retired, some with families, some tall and some to scale. These people come from everywhere, each bring a different view, each one just as important when it's time to form a crew. There's the driver of the rigs, they also manage the water, and whenever they back up, they always need a spotter. There's the officer that sits in front and organizes the plan. You're nozzleman, you're backup, and you get the ventilation fan. The commanding officer is on scene by now and gives a CAM report. It gives conditions, actions, needs, and most importantly, it's short. Each team goes in together and no one is ever left behind. And once we're done, we're cleared from scene or reassigned. When we get back to the station, it is never quite the same. We'll wash the truck or practice breaching the door frame. Sometimes we make coffee together, relax and decompress. We'll talk about our lives, successes or failures to address. We say, see you on the next one as our way to say goodbye. We trade together often and share a bond one can't deny. We care about our district. We know, love, and respect it. We're here for our community and want to help protect it.
Very nice.
I know, I was blown away when I saw it. It was like, wow. So, any questions? That's my 9 slides.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, CT.
Right, we're gonna have to move quickly through these things, sorry. Risk reduction.
Risk reduction educator Logan has completed 15 home assessments and 4 neighborhood assessments here today. Lumber County Wildfire Town Hall that he helped organize and January 21st was well received by over 100 community members. We heard from the Colorado Insurance Commissioner, Colorado State Forester, and other community leaders with partner agencies. Neighborhood Investment Program orientation kicked off last week, second year. 5 community members going through this for the next 6 weeks, learning about the structured emission zone, community engagement, and mitigation best practices. Captain Sutherland is working on plan review experience, comments for multiple projects, such as family hotel projects, multiple remodel projects, these single family homes and short-term rental applications. Captain Sutherland will be performing re-inspections for the Stanley properties as a follow-up from the annual inspection from December. She's also completing inspections as needed, most venue construction special events. She led Tuesday night's training for auxiliary, for fire alarm systems and sprinkler systems. Help our crews better understand these complex systems and what to do when they encounter them. I lost my place, sorry about that. She's also providing training for auxiliary members for inspections on special events and tents. They'll now be moving on to ride-alongs for that training. I'm continuing to work on finalized agreements for the CWDG Thunder Mountain Project with Lumber County Sheriff's Department. I think we're almost there, so hopefully we can actually get some work done on that. I'll be shifting to that RFP soon, but I think the Watershed Coalition is going to provide some of that assistance with getting that RFP out for the rest of the work. Working on grant implementation and management for several grants, ones we've had and ones that are upcoming. I did submit a grant proposal and we have been awarded a COSWAP grant in 2025 for implementation in 26 and 27. Been participating in the reorg committee, which we heard a lot about tonight, working on job descriptions for the 2 open positions. Wildfire Ready Action Plan is complete. Again, Big Thompson Watershed Health Partnership and CPOW are the lead partners in development of this. We were invited last week to participate in a driving tour of bridges within our district that may be eligible for RAP projects in the future. So we're looking at any deficiencies in bridges. I'll keep you posted on if that. If we come up with anything out of that discussion. Still participating in the 2025 hazard mitigation plan update. Be going on for about the next year. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Switch pages here. As far as training division, we did ice rescue classroom training. If you've noticed, there's no ice to train on. So, right, begun tomorrow. It was 40 some degrees today, I believe, so. We're waiting on winter to arrive so we can do the on ice skills day. Unfortunately, we are closer to spring than winter now, so we'll see how that goes. Instructor 1 starts on Thursday. I have 8 students enrolled on that. We'll be doing that here Thursday nights for the next 5 weeks, I believe. That's a DFPC class, so Division Fire Prevention and Control, so it's a state certification class for instructor. I also had on here Captain Sutherland taught a great alarm system training. She actually brought in a prop. And it is pretty amazing. It is literally an entire alarm system on a board that sits on the desktop. So you can like pull the fire alarm and see how it works and see how to reset it. Heat detectors, smoke detectors, holy moly. Phenomenal. So that was Vulcan Fire Protection Systems. Put that together. So if I can do a shameless plug on a public meeting, they really went above and beyond to help us to learn and understand. So phenomenal. PD also came and gave a refresher on crime scene considerations. So that was a great refresher or new training for some people. And then wildland training and refresher month starts in March. So we start with everybody's favorite, the PAC test, and then we get into more training throughout the month. Operations, we've mask fit tested more than half of the membership. Figured Jeff would want to know that. So we have the machine up and running. The auxiliaries have been going through that, and we've been getting people fit tested. So auxiliaries have inventoried all the bunker gear and storage, all the Swiftwater gear and the ice rescue gear. They were literally here for at least 2 full days last week, maybe more than that. I can't get Elizabeth out of this place. She is like here, she is the one building this phenomenal spreadsheet. We also had the awards banquet last Friday. We had a special guest from a CPR save. That was super cool. Just a couple of highlights. We had, oh, yes, look at that. He's got a printout of it. I might as well tell you, firefighter of the year was Connor Brewer. Officer of the year was Rick Spear. Rookie of the year was Mark Brown. Auxiliary of the year was Diana Vanderplug. Calls for the year, Lieutenant Brooke Walski right over here. 629 calls. But wait, there's more. 2,744 hours being on call. So,
Good job.
yeah. And then training hours of the year was Trevor Eigel with 489 hours. He became a Swiftwater trainer last year, also became an EMT. So pretty phenomenal. We also had Captain Rick Spear got his 20-year pin remotely. He's down in Costa Rica, so he wasn't there. But he completed 20 years, and Mark Eigel got his 35-year pin. So we have some folks who are hanging around for a while, which is awesome. So that is the end of that. Well, we had some off-road adventures with Engine 71 last week because of icy road conditions. So thankfully we had a senior engineer driving, and we had absolutely no damage that we could see initially. We had the mechanic look it over from tip to tail, and he doesn't see anything, so pretty phenomenal, off of Pole Hill Road. So if you've ever been up there, it was icy enough that the whole engine 71 started sliding down the mountain. We do not have a volunteer captain, so I've been asked to kind of give that, so I'm just gonna go right into that. So we've had 53 calls this February already, which brings 2026 calls to 112. This time last year, we were at 90 calls. So we're running a little bit ahead of that. And that's all I had.
Any questions?
Okay, just a couple of follow-up things. Thank you for talking about the awards event. Okay, admin positions. Congratulations to Brenda. She is our administrative specialist.
Yay.
Our executive assistant is now posted, and that'll run for at least a couple more weeks. I'm working now on a public information engagement program to roll out, give you more information in March on that. That kind of dovetails a little bit what we were talking about before. I did attend the Larimer County Fire Chiefs meeting, and Chris was there as well. The wildfire resiliency code is not just an issue for us. It's an issue around the county, and there are other districts dealing with the same issues that we are. I wouldn't say the issue of concern for wildland fire is building. I wouldn't say it's a panic yet, but it's getting there. There is some good things out there. The sheriff is gonna be able to issue burn bans this year, which usually used to have to go to the county commissioners. So he can be a lot quicker on that. Of course, we can do our own locally as well. Aircraft is starting to come online pretty soon in March as far as being available. Also, the sheriff's department did approach me about talking about a camera. They have done some work with putting cameras around the county as far as detect, smoke and fire detecting cameras. And they have plans to put one right over here on the Prospect Mountain. They haven't been able to do it because they don't have the money to do it. And I said, well, we'd like to talk to them. Big deal for us. Maybe we can help out in that area. So in the next couple of weeks, I'll be talking to them. That's all I guess. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, there being no unfinished or old business, does any board member have any new business they'd like to state?
No.
All right.
No.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I would like to bring up, death benefits. At our next meeting, we had somebody pass away that didn't have anybody to leave stuff to. And I found out we only give, what was it, $900 for a burial. And I think after someone puts in the service that our volunteers do, they deserve a little better than that, so.
That would be a pension board meeting?
Yeah, and you'll have
The
a
pension board decision.
and there'll be a pension board meeting probably in April, probably not March.
Yeah, we were gonna have one tonight and then we shifted gears on that, so. Well, I will make sure it gets added to the next pension board meeting.
Yeah.
All right, any other new business anyone wants to raise? Ryan? Sorry, I know I'm rushing everybody, but
No new business.
that's 2 hours at least. We go 30 minutes now, we did 4 hours, okay. Announcements, members of the audit and budget standing committee, again, I have the authority to appoint or disappoint. Members, have appointed members to the audit and budget committee, treasurer's member of both. Scott Dorman is the other member of the budget committee. Jeff Robbins has been appointed to be the other member of the audit committee. The next regularly scheduled meeting is Monday, March 23rd at 4:30 p.m. Is there anything else anyone would like to raise before I entertain a motion?
We're gonna have a work session before that meeting or.
Before the March meeting?
Yeah.
No, we scheduled one for the April.
It's okay, okay.
April was for the tax issue. I don't think we have one
Okay.
for the March meeting.
I thought we had to.
Some of us, the resiliency code by April 1st, are we gonna have them?
We are going, so one of the things we may need to do, depending on what they're going to talk, but depending on what happens in their discussions, we're either gonna need to have a special meeting in March in addition to our March board meeting, or we're going to need
It's
to
gonna
have,
need to be before March 23rd, I would think.
Yes.
I believe so, because then there's all kinds of work that needs to be done after that, correct? Or no?
We'll know in a week.
The lawyer's going to be able to tell her, she thinks that we have time and she thought the next board meeting was sufficient. But given our propensity for having excessively long board meetings, doing it all at once might be too much, even for us. So we might want to split it up into two. Okay. Any other things you want to talk about before I entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting? May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting, please?
Motion to adjourn.
John, second, please. Who said this? Jeff, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, motion carried. Good night, everybody.